Hi folks, it's Marvin Music with MedicareSchool.com, and we want to welcome you to tonight's event. We're glad to have you with us. I am going to get into my topic here in just a minute, but I would be thrilled to know who's on the group tonight. I know sometimes people will let us know they're a client and what state you're from, so if you would mind putting that in there, we would like to know that you're with us. I know that some of you are already, I've noticed here on the screen, are already putting some questions in, so you can continue to do that. And I will try to get to as many of those as I can. And sometimes we get some repeats, and so we have a lady who helps me do this, and so she sees a question that I just answered maybe 5 minutes earlier. We may skip over that one because I've already answered it. So I see that Atlanta, Georgia, Kathy from Illinois, Donald from California, Calvin Green from Rolla, Missouri, not too far from us. Nathan, we're glad you're a client. North Carolina, Louisiana, California, Michigan, Wisconsin, Texas. Very good. Wow. And Beloit, Wisconsin, Connecticut. All right, you all. Well, thank you so much for letting me know you're here. And then I do want to just say a couple real quick things. If you decide that you need some immediate help, a lot of times people say, hey, can you help me now? You're going to see a number on the screen. Berger, if you can put that there. If not, I can give you one of our 800 numbers. We actually have a couple of them. But if you want to write this number down, it's 800-864-8890. 1-800-864-8890. And our office is open right now. We're Central Time from 7 to 7. And so if you needed something truly immediately, feel free to call in. We always have agents that are live and can be of assistance to you. And as always, no pressure. We're here to serve people and to help you make sure that you understand your options and make good decisions so that you can be confident with your Medicare choices. All right, and so let us know if we can help. We'd be delighted to do so. Let's talk about tonight's title. As I looked at the title, we have a video producer that puts a lot of these ideas together. When I saw this, I thought, the majority of people that are going to be on our event tonight are probably going to know exactly what we're talking about. Because most of you already know that Medicare covers well. Medicare's great insurance. Of course, we get supplemental plans to fill in the gaps financially that Medicare doesn't cover, but Medicare's great insurance. But there are a handful of items that Medicare is not going to cover. And this one that we're going to talk about tonight happens to be probably your largest risk, largest exposure, out-of-pocket expense that Medicare will not cover, and that is going to be long-term care. Long-term care not covered by Medicare. And the reason for that is because when Medicare began back in 1965, they decided that this Medicare program is going to be for things that are medically necessary, high likelihood of recovery. So when we talk about long-term care needs, those are not, they're important, by the way, but they're not by Medicare deemed to be medically necessary. They are referred to as custodial care. And so Medicare does not cover custodial care, with one exception. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But custodial care means that you need assistance with just activities, normal activities of daily living. And there's a list of them. Some have a list of 6, some say 7, but let me just give those to you. If you need assistance with bathing, that's a custodial need not covered by Medicare. Any kind of continence issues, someone has bowel issues, they're incontinent, that would be a custodial need. Anyone that cannot dress themselves, they need assistance dressing. Maybe they've had a stroke and they cannot, button or tie their shoes. That's a custodial need. So bathing, incontinence, and dressing. And then sometimes people cannot feed themselves for whatever reason. That would be custodial. There are times when people are in a wheelchair and they cannot get from the wheelchair onto the stool or the wheelchair into the bed. That's called transferring. So when we have mobility issues like that and we cannot transfer on our own without assistance, again, an activity of daily living. There are times when people cannot manage their own medications. They can't be trusted to take the right amounts at the right time. That would be a custodial need. Combining all that together would be just if someone has a cognitive issue that's serious, be it dementia or Alzheimer's, again, that's a custodial need. So all of those items are custodial. Medicare says not medically necessary. We're not going to cover those things. And so if you have issues with those, you're on your own. Medicare is not going to pay for anything. Now, the exception would be, let's say that I have a stroke. I have complications of the stroke, maybe I need occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy. Because it's a stroke where there's a likelihood I can have some recovery, while I am going through the recovery and rehab for the stroke, then if I have some custodial needs, Medicare will cover them at that time. So if I go to a skilled nursing facility, I have these other needs, but Medicare is going to cover the custodial needs as well. But once my rehab is done and doc says we're done treating you for the symptoms of the stroke and the aftermath of the stroke and all that, now you're back on your own when it comes to your long-term care needs. All right, so again, there are times they cover, but again, it has to be in conjunction with some other health issue that is medically necessary, so they'll treat both of those at the same time. So the question is always, well, then what do we do if we don't have Medicare to cover that? And by the way, if Medicare doesn't cover your custodial needs, neither will your supplemental plan. Now, they would, in my example of the stroke, along with custodial needs, your supplemental plan will follow. But if it's just by themselves, your supplemental plan will not follow, and nor will your Medicare Advantage plan pay anything for long-term care either. Okay, so they're not going to extend care for that because they're not obligated to do so. Okay, so the question is, what do we do? Well, you have a couple options. Number one, if you happen to be a veteran, you may have some benefits through the VA for custodial needs. Number two, you can self-pay, and there's some people that choose to take on that risk. They just say, hey, if it comes up, I'm going to self-pay. Normally what happens is they try to stay home, and their family members end up becoming their caregivers. And sometimes that works for a while. I will tell you this, it can really wear out a caregiver, though they would love you immensely. It's very hard to be a caregiver for someone that has some very serious custodial needs. But again, that sometimes will be the plan that people are going to implement if they have a long-term care need. They just simply self-pay, stay at home as long as they possibly can. Another option is to have government involvement. We know Medicare was not going to be involved, but that would be Medicaid. In fact, half of all the bills today for long-term care are actually paid by Medicaid, which is a state and federal program. You qualify through your state, but those are also federally funded as well. So Medicaid. Now the problem with that is, as most of you probably know, you have to be broke almost to qualify for Medicaid, or you have had to transfer all your assets at least 5 years in advance if you're going to apply for Medicaid, if you have any assets. And so you have to be broke. Most states, again, have their own qualifications, but on average, you can probably keep maybe $100 to $500 of cash flow a month. That's it. All the rest of your money, Social Security, your pensions, are all that's going to have to go to long-term care first before Medicaid pays. And you can have assets. They'll let you keep some assets, but again, they're limited. If you're still married, then those assets would be greater that you can keep for that spouse that's not in the long-term care need. But the whole point is, when we go on Medicaid, now we have to be almost broke. Secondly, Medicaid is going to be the one that's going to decide where you're going to be. You don't have the liberty to pick and choose where you'd like to be. If Medicaid's going to pay, they're going to get to pick and choose that, so you have very little control. All right? Or what you can do is you can go outside to the outside the government system, and you can buy some type of an insurance product. And you actually have three of those, and let me kind of explain those to you, and then I'm going to move on to answer your questions. But number one, you can buy what is referred to today as traditional long-term care insurance. Now, these long-term care insurance plans have been around for years. They're attractive, but they're not so attractive when people try to buy them in their 60s and 70s. It's kind of late to that because you have to medically qualify to get it. So if someone says, I want a long-term care traditional policy, probably the best time to do that would be in your 50s. And if you have a group plan at work that offers that, that's probably going to be your best value. So traditional long-term care, one of the negatives would be this. The increases on premiums are normally from about 50 to about 60 years old. You're going to see about a 2 to 4% annual increase. But then once you hit 60 and above, it's not uncommon for us to see 6 to 10% annual increases. So again, they can become very expensive. Second thing, if you never use that long-term care benefit because you don't have a need, you die in a car wreck or you have a heart attack, and you don't use it, then you've lost all that premium amount. I'm not saying I would not do that. I'm just saying to you, I think there are better options today, but that is one option. The second option is to do what is referred to as a life insurance policy, meaning it has a life insurance chassis, and then we add a rider to that life insurance policy. So it begins as life insurance. You have to medically qualify, of course. Not as hard to get a life insurance policy as it would be to get a long-term care policy, but there are going to be some health questions and there's some underwriting qualifications and process you have to go through. But it's a life insurance policy. Now, the reason some people like these is because if you never have a long-term care need, you again pass away in a car wreck, you have a heart attack, and you never have a long-term care need, that life insurance death benefit is going to be paid to your loved ones, your beneficiaries. You're going to get something out of it. So it's not either use it or lose it. It will be used. And so the way it works is a life insurance policy that has a long-term care rider will allow a certain percentage of the death benefit to be used for long-term care expenses. And so let's say I have a $200,000 life insurance policy. They will probably let me use about 75% of that in death benefit, which would be about $150,000 of that $200,000. Why? Well, because they know they're going to pay out the death benefit anyways. And so they'll allow you to use a certain percentage, again, about 75%. And then if you have 2 of the 6 activities of daily living that you need help with, again, bathing, continence, dressing, eating, transferring, taking medications, Alzheimer's, dementia, if you have 2 of those 6, that triggers that life insurance policy to begin to pay out for your long-term care expenses. And again, they only pay out so much a month, but it's pretty decent amount of money. Okay, and then the remaining part, if it's unused for long-term care, then would be to be paid to your beneficiaries at your death. Okay, so again, you haven't lost that money whatsoever. I think that's a good option. Now, the other option you have is to do what we call a single pay policy. And I would say on average right now, people are funding these with maybe $50,000 or maybe $100,000 or thereabouts. And it's a single premium. It's paid to an insurance company. And again, it's a life insurance policy. But what it does is instead of just limiting it to that death event, that premium, that face value death benefit of $50,000 or $100,000, if you medically qualify, what they'll do is they actually will begin to pay monthly amounts to you so that you can pay your long-term care expenses. And it's a monthly amount, but what's neat about it, it's a lifetime benefit. Okay, and again, there's an underwriting process, but we find that's a really, really attractive option. So we fund it lump sum, and then it pays out a certain amount of money depending upon your age and all those kind of variables, but it'll pay on a monthly basis. So what our goal is as financial planners is we like to look at what the averages are right now. So for instance, let me just share a little bit with you. Right now, I'd say the average skilled nurse, the average assisted living facility is going to be in the neighborhood of about $6,000 to, let's say, $7,000 a month. That's assisted living. You're doing pretty well, but you need some help. If someone's in a semi-private room in a regular nursing home, that's going to be in the neighborhood on average of about $8,000 a month. Now, again, I'm just saying average. There are some that are higher and lower for sure. But if I have a private room in a regular nursing home, that could be anywhere from $9,000 to $10,000 a month. So we know that people are going to be receiving Social Security, maybe some other cash flow. So what we like to do is we like to insure about half of that amount. And I think the average right now in long-term care is about 3 years or so. And so as we do financial planning, we like to say, okay, what would it take to at least cover half of those expenses? Because you have other cash flow that you can use to pay long-term care. And then what happens if you never use that, then whatever that lump sum amount is that you actually paid for that policy, all of that would be paid out as a death benefit if you did not trigger a long-term care event. All right, so that, again, that's a good option. Again, you can call us. We'd be happy to work you through any of those different scenarios. But again, it's a serious thing. Why is that? Well, we titled this, 25% of you are going to face this. And the reality is it could be as high as 30% of you. So that range of 25 to 30% of you are going to have some type of a long-term care triggering event in your lifetime. And again, if that long-term care event may last 6 months. It could last 10 years, depending on what happens. My wife, her mother had a stroke, and she was very healthy beyond the stroke, but she had issues that eventually led to dementia, Alzheimer's. And so she needed care for about 15 years. That's a long, long time. In fact, it truly almost dwindled her estate because of that. And so you need to think about these things in advance because Medicare is not going to cover them. All right, so enough of that. Hopefully that's helpful. If you want more information, call our office. We'd be delighted to discuss that with you more. Okay, Brigitte, we're done with our topic. Let's get into tonight's questions, and let's see if we can provide some help for folks tonight. I am ready to go. And Brigitte, are you there? Because I do not see any questions on my screen. Do I need to add you to my stage, or what do I need to do? Okay. Okay, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, very good. Where are the questions?
Sorry. It's a lot of comments. I'm looking for the first one.
Okay, very good. Okay. Well, I'm going to mute you. Tell me where the questions are going to be. Normally our producer helps us with this, but he's in a wedding, and they had their rehearsal tonight. So where are my questions?
Sorry.
Well, you know what? If you don't know how to get them to me, just ask them if you want. It's totally,
I have the first one. Sorry.
Okay, very good. Is that the first one there? Does Medicare cover mental health and chiropractic care? Or? Okay, I see it now. Okay, very good. I'm going to mute you. Let me know if you need anything else. Here we go. All righty. So I've been told that Medicare won't cover injectable biologics. Oh boy, that's a real dandy one. Okay, I will tell you this, that Medicare will cover some biologics. Okay, they will. But boy, I tell you what, that's a little bit out of my league, and I am really sorry. I will tell you this, that there could be some items that are biologics that may also have some synthetic equivalents that, and I know the difference between, the synthetics and biologics, okay? But if there is something that would be a synthetic medication that Medicare will cover, it could be that's all they're going to cover instead of the biologic. Okay, so if you have been told about that, now let me tell you what I always do, you all. Wherever you would buy that medication, whether it's going to be, like a specialty pharmacy, I would ask them, is this going to be covered? Because they're going to know, because they're always going to ask you about your insurance. All right, and so it could be true in some instances, but I do know they will cover some. Just because that's the only possible treatment for certain diseases would be to use a biologic. Okay, so let's keep going on that. That's kind of a little deeper of an issue. My apologies to you on that one. Okay, Juliet, ready. What's best for those who are planning to travel overseas for a month at a time, at least the first few years of retirement? Okay, to travel overseas, I am assuming what you're saying is you're not going to move overseas and stay there for a long period of time. So if it were me, what I would do, two things, Juliet. I am not, and I hope you all will really hear me out on this. I am not a huge fan of Medicare Advantage plans. I'm just not. And the reason for that is in the present system, we still are dealing with pre-authorizations. We're still dealing with network issues. I'm telling you, the networks have changed. I can't tell you the reports I've gotten recently from hospital groups and doctor groups dropping out of Medicare Advantage networks because Advantage plans do not pay them quickly. They do not pay them enough. And so we're having network problems. So the second reason I don't like Advantage plans, we have network issues at times. Pre-authorizations are a big deal. I know there's pressure on the government, by the government to change that, but I don't think they're going to get that turned around very quickly. This is the way insurance companies make money. They don't make money by covering services. They do not want to cover them. And so we have to deal with pre-authorizations. I have story after story where people should have gotten something that Medicare would cover, but the Advantage plan said, no, we're not going to do that. Or they made them jump through extra hoops in order to get that, which means delays in coverage. And so that still exists. So that's a problem for me. And then thirdly, and this is probably the biggest deal, folks, do you realize that if you go on an Advantage plan and you stay on that plan, now, by the way, I'm going to share this with you, and this applies unless you live in New York, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts. Everywhere else, here's what happens. You go on that Advantage plan, and you stay on that Advantage plan a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years, and you want to get off of it and return back to A and B and get a supplemental plan, now you're going to have to go through medical underwriting to make that switch. And that's what a lot of people plan to do because agents do not let them know that if you stay on an Advantage plan for any length of time, year plus, And to get off of it, you have to medically qualify. Agents don't want you to know that because they want you to stay on that Advantage plan lifelong because they get a lifelong commission. And frankly, that's why Advantage plans are pushed so much by agents and companies. Companies are making billions, and agents, we make a much higher commission. I promise you, 2 times the commission is paid to the agent on an Advantage plan versus a supplemental plan. So agents they're not thinking about your coverage and how your insurance is going to work. They're thinking about their paycheck. And that's wrong for that to happen. But again, they package them as though you're crazy if you don't get an Advantage plan. And I'm saying you're crazy if you get one, if you can afford a little extra dollars to get quality insurance through A and B and with a supplemental plan, okay? A lot of people are lured into Advantage plans because of the perks, the low premiums, but when they get sick, they will come to regret that decision. And by the way, there's so many testimonies out there about people that have had just terrible experiences because of it. So here's my point. So if you take an Advantage plan, that Advantage plan will cover you overseas for urgent care and emergency room visits, 0 copay, and after that, nothing. Okay? Now, if you have a supplemental plan, there's 10 supplemental plans, 6 of them offer what's called foreign travel coverage benefit, foreign travel emergency benefits. So you're asking me, what do you do? So if you're out of the country, you will have attached to your supplemental plan, I'm talking about the popular ones, the F, the G, and the N, you'll have $50,000 lifetime benefit for any kind of foreign travel emergency claim. So that's a reason I would get a supplemental plan for sure. Plus, if you're in travel a lot, even in the country, you never have to worry about network issues at all. You just simply pull your card out. I'm saying that A and B card and that supplemental card, you have the same coverage anywhere in the country. Now, thirdly, what I would do is this. I would always, if I'm going to travel, I would get some form of a travel health insurance. So talk to companies about how long you're going to be gone. If it's 60 days or 90 days, let them know that. And you can get some kind of usually travel health insurance for a specific place you're going to for a specific period of time. And I think that's very smart to do. Get $100,000 or $200,000 with a air evacuation rider attached to that. So if you have a situation where you got to be air evac'd, that insurance policy will also pay those expenses. All right, enough of that. That's what I would do. Let's keep going, Brigette. Okay, what about long-term acute care? Okay, long-term acute care in a hospital will be covered by Medicare. Again, you've got to keep in mind, though, we're talking about something where there is a high likelihood of recovery. It's treatable. So what happens where they believe there is recovery, so those long-term care acute care hospitals are covered by Medicare. But here's the way it works. Medicare covers us in the hospital, any hospital stay, up to 90 days. We only have to pay a deductible. This year, that's $1,632. That's month 1 and 2. Month 3, we pay $408 a day, so about $12,000 for month 3. And then when we move into month 4 and month 5, this year we have a daily copay of $816. That's a day. So month 4 and month 5 are $25,000 out of your pocket. Okay, so after that, Medicare will not pay anything beyond those 150 days. Now, let's say, though, I'm discharged from the hospital after that, and I go back in the hospital later, Medicare will cover again for a 90-day window. That's called the benefit period. And so we have unlimited 90-day benefit periods. But again, that means you're re-hospitalized, not the same stay. Okay, so what I would do in this situation, if you're worried about this, is I would definitely get a Medicare supplemental plan, and here's why. All of the hospital gaps, the deductible and the hospital copays for extended stays will be covered by all of your supplemental plans. Your F, your G, your N, some of those, they'll cover them. Plus, those supplemental plans will give you 365 days in the hospital at zero out of pocket to you. So we have the 5 months Medicare covers, and now we have another year that's covered by the supplemental plan by itself. Okay, so that's how I would handle long-term acute care. Let's keep going. All right, is Medicare and Social Security based on birth month or day? If you're born on the 15th, are you considered 65, you start? Okay, so for Social Security and Medicare, it is your birth month where you're eligible for Medicare. That'd be on your 65th birth month, with one exception. If you're born on the first day of the month, and I know you're not, but if someone is born on the first, they need to know that their Medicare will begin the previous month. So if my birthday is coming up, let's say August 1, then I could start Medicare July 1. But if my birthday is August 2nd through August 31st, then I would start my Medicare during the month of August. Okay, and the same thing applies for Social Security. So if you just say, I'm going to take my Social Security as early as possible at 62, again, it would be the month in which you turn 62, that birth month, unless you're born on the 1st, then it would be the previous month. You would start then at age 62. All right, let's keep going. Okay, Gail, if under self-pay for assisted living and are moved to memory care, can you stay there if you exhaust assets other than pension, Social Security? Would you also have to move? Okay. All right. Well, you would have to, of course, talk to that nursing home about the possibility of staying there. I would tell you this, that your pensions and your Social Security are going to be used before Medicaid would pay anything. So that's going to be part of your income. They're not going to let you set that aside. So pension and Social Security would be used. And what we call this is a spend down. So when they look at your budget, and let's just say that you're in a Medicaid facility that costs $6,000. And you have $3,000 of your own money, Social Security and a pension, they're going to make you spend that money down each month before they're going to then kick in and cover the balance of that skilled nursing, of that long-term care facility. You have to spend it down. Again, they'll let you keep some states $100 a month, some states a few hundred a month, but you're not going to be able to keep that Social Security and pension for sure. It will be counted. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. Does Medicare cover mental health and chiropractor? Okay, yes, it does. In fact, this year, Medicare expanded their mental health care options. More providers, even marriage counselors, different therapists now are covered by Medicare. If your therapist accepts Medicare and they've gone through the hoops to be approved by Medicare, then yes, they're going to cover mental health. Now, mental health inpatient is limited to 190 days over our lifetime. So there's a little bit of limitation there. But outpatient mental health really is going to be covered well by Medicare for sure. And again, it was expanded this year for 2024. And then as far as chiropractic care, yes, but here's the issue with chiropractors. The only thing that Medicare deems to be medically necessary at a chiropractor's office is two things. Number one, the adjustments of the spine and acupuncture in certain situations, up to 12 treatments. And those can be repeated if you're improving, but that's all they cover. Adjustments of the spine and some acupuncture. And so beyond that, at the chiropractor's office, no x-rays are covered by Medicare, no additional therapy, traction, all those things that a chiropractor would do to help you. And by the way, I like chiropractors. I've been immensely helped by mine. But Medicare says that's the only two things they're going to cover. So two questions you ask at a chiropractor's office. Number one, doc, do you take Medicare? And number two, is this going to be covered by Medicare? And the only things would be, again, adjustments and acupuncture. All right, next question. Okay, how much dental does Medicare cover? Hardly anything. Yeah, the original Medicare plan back in 1965, honestly, deemed that dental care was not medically necessary. Now, you and I know that's archaic because our dental health, oral health has a lot to do with our overall health, but they have not changed the rules. So the only kind of dental that Medicare is going to cover would be extreme situations. Let's say someone has, cancer of the jaw or some issue going on with cancer, and there has to be some reconstruction of the jaw to treat the cancer. They'll pay for the reconstruction of the teeth as well. If someone's going in for a heart valve replacement or they have a kidney failure, going for a kidney transplant, they'll do some dental work to make sure that their oral health is good prior to that surgery. So again, if it's medically necessary medical care in conjunction with the dental, then that's when Medicare is going to cover. So here's what happens. If you decide to do what I'm going to do, and by the way, I'm not quite 65 yet, I'm close. But if I'm going on Medicare, I'm taking A and B traditional Medicare. I like that system. I'm going to get a supplemental plan. And therefore, if I stay in that system, A and B with a sup, I have to get my own, what we call standalone dental plans. They're dental plans. Most of them are going to be on an annual benefit of $3,000 to $5,000 a year. They normally cover preventive, 2 cleanings, set of x-rays a year. They'll cover your basic services at 80-20, major services 50-50, and then they set that limit. and you have a monthly premium. Most of those are in the range of $45 to maybe $50 a month, but they're real legitimate dental plans. Now, what happens with Advantage plans is I don't call those dental plans. I call that a dental allowance. And some of those are attractive, frankly. I don't know how good they're going to be in 2025, but right now the average is about $1,500. And they'll set aside $1,500 for you to use for dental work. Could be preventive, could be comprehensive, but there's going to be a limit. Now, the issue is on some of the plans, you have to use one of their network dentists. And if you can't get someone to take it, you're not going to get to use that benefit. Some of them are reimbursement, which means if you have the Advantage plan, if they reimburse, you can go to your dentist, who you wherever you want to, you pay the bill, submit a form, and they'll reimburse you up to that limit for the year. All right? And so that's how people are handling dental on Medicare. All right, next question. Okay, how can I best pick a pharmacy Part D plan? I'm on regular Medicare with Plan G. Okay, well, you have a couple sources. Now, we as a company set this up for our clients initially. So, Chris, I don't know if you started with us, but if so, we have a system called MID, Medicare Insurance Direct, where we load all your meds in there and your pharmacy choices, and that system actually will pick a plan for you. And so we set that up initially, and then every year our clients go in that system and update their meds and look at the plans for 2025. That's one way. If you're not a client of ours, then what I would do then is I would go to Medicare.gov, and you can go there and it'll look at all the plans that are in your zip code, and you'll give them your meds, your exact medication, dosage, frequency. It'll show up all the plans in your area, and then it'll give you the option to enroll in that plan. Now, here's the way it works. If you are still within your initial enrollment period, 3 months before you turn 65, the month you turn 65, or 3 months after, you're still in that window, you can still get a prescription drug plan. But if you're outside that window and you don't have a plan, then what's going to happen is you can add that plan coming up here in a few months called the Annual Enrollment Period, AEP. And that is October 15th through December 7th. You can go onto Medicare.gov, or if you work with us, our site, and you can look at all the plans, pick out the one that's best for you. They'll rate them all in order, custom coverage, and then you can hit a button that says add to cart, enroll in the plan, and you can enroll in one of those one of those standalone prescription drug plans. Now, they're not out yet. We're anticipating that they're not going to be quite as attractive in 2025 as they were this year, just because of all the changes Medicare made to Part D plans. But there's going to be they'll be available, and so you can pick one of those plans. And then the good thing about drug plans, you don't have to medically qualify. So if the plan's in your zip code, you can get it, you can enroll into it, and you can change them on an annual basis every year, October 15th to December 7th. So if you don't have a plan and you're outside of your initial enrollment period, add one later this year, and then each year go back in and check to make sure that you're on the right drug plan. All right? Okay, let's keep going. Okay, can you add a rider to an existing life insurance policy? Usually not. Yeah, because that life insurance policy you were approved for it, and based upon the criteria that they wanted at that time, and based upon your health at that time. So you're not going to be able to go in and add a rider. I've never personally heard of that. Now, what you can do is reapply. And so if you can apply for a new policy that has a long-term care rider or benefit within it, then you can always cancel the old life insurance policy if you don't have both of them. Okay. All right, I issued my Part A and B award letter today. I'm still working. And income, retire, age 16, 2022, far exceeded 203. Earnings limit. Should I file SSA 44 now for exemption? Okay, no. So working and income in 2022. But you tell me you retired 8/16. So that I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Here's the thing. I don't really understand your question. I know what you're talking about, the IRMAA. And so if you far exceeded the IRMAA, here's the way it works. If you retired in 2022 or 2020, if you retired in 2023 or 2024, then you have a life-changing event and you can appeal your IRMAA. Then you can do the SSA 44. So we can appeal if we've had life-changing event in the last 2 years. So again, if you're on Medicare now, 2024, they look back at 2022. So if your numbers are changed in 23 or 24 because of one of those 8 life-changing events, then yes, you can appeal. But if you retired, you're saying 8/16, I'm assuming you mean August of 2016. I'm confused because you say you're still working. And so your life-changing event, if it was in 2016, that's way, way in the past. And so what's going to happen now, if you decide you're going to stop working now and are going to go on Medicare, then you can use this new retirement date, then you can appeal. For sure. You can give them 2023 information or 2024 numbers, and you will win that appeal. Okay. You'll retire. I see. I understand now. You'll retire 8/16/2024. Okay. Yes, you'll be able to appeal. So when you went on Medicare, or you will go on Medicare August 1, they looked at 2022. So what you're going to do is this. You're going to after you've retired, you can appeal the IRMAA. You can't appeal in advance of the life-changing event. So if your retirement date's 8/16, then after 8/16, you can submit your SS-44, and you'll check the box on there, work reduction or work stoppage. Sounds like you're going to stop working, work stoppage. And then what you're going to do is you can project what you're going to make for the rest of this year. So if that income you're projecting for all of 2024 is less than 2022, then you may not eliminate your IRMAA, but you may be able to reduce it. Okay, and so that's what I would do. Now, if you're still going to be up there high income, then what's going to happen when you roll into 2025, they're going to look at 2023 and you're a high income. So now you can use your date of your retirement date of 8/16 this year and give them 2025 numbers, and then they'll drop off your 2023 IRMAA. All right, so that's the process. You can use the life-changing event for 2 years for the appeal. All right, next. Thanks for the video. Use Medicare School for my elections. Plan G, ready to go. Thanks, Marvin. All right, well, thank you. It's our privilege to serve you. Thanks for trusting our company, and we really are delighted that you used our services and had a good experience. That's my goal, to make sure that people are taken care of. So thanks a lot for letting us know. Let's keep going. All righty. Since I'm 62 disabled, I was told the supplemental plan wasn't possible since I'm not yet 65. So I had to get an Advantage plan. Well, I need to get a review to move on to one when I hit 65. And the answer is no. Now, I want to clarify something, and that's this. There are some states where the insurance commissioners require insurance companies to make supplemental plans available to those people that are on Medicare because of disability, because they're less than 62. Some states require it. Now, the federal guidelines are no states have to, but state insurance commissioners sometimes will say, no, you have to make them available. Now, the problem is sometimes the states say you have to make them available, but you don't have to have, you can charge more for them. And that makes them not affordable for some people. So it sounds like to me, just a blessing, that you're in a state where supplemental plans were not available, not required by the insurance companies. So what's going to happen for you when you turn 65, your birth month, you're hitting what we refer to as your IEP2. IEP2. So let's say your birth month is this month, July. So what's going to happen, birth month in July, you turn 65, 3 months before 65, the month you turn 65 and 3 months after, you're now in your second initial enrollment period. No longer are you on Medicare because of disability. Now you're on it because you're 65. Now your Medicare number is not going to change. Your card information is not going to change. But when we submit that supplemental plan at 65, when it goes to the insurance company, they realize you're in your IEP2 and they have to approve your policy. They can't put you through underwriting. They can't charge you any more money. You'll just be rated as a normal turning 65 based upon the rates that are in your state. So the answer to your question is yes, you can at 65. You'll have that 7-month window to do that. I would do it in advance of my 65th birth month, a couple months. That way you're all set. You're on A and B, and then that supplemental plan kicks in at 65. All right. I'm on Advantage plan, just joined in May 1st. Can I switch to supplemental plan now on July? Absolutely. Yep. You sure can. That's the best time to do it. You're still within that window where you can go through without any underwriting whatsoever. And so if you would like us to help, call the 800 number, 800-864-8890, and we can shop and see what plans are available for you. I will tell you this, most people are doing a G plan or an N plan. They're both very good options for sure. And we'd be delighted to look at the carriers in your area. Also, you are going to select a drug plan. We'll go through that process with you as well. And what happens is when we submit that drug plan, it automatically kicks out your Advantage plan, and then you would go into effect as early as August 1st. So if you do that now, and again, you can call in right now, we'll take care of it for you. Then that supplemental plan kicks in, and the drug plan kicks in 8/1 of 2024. And by the way, I think that's a great decision. I think there's a place for Advantage plans. But in my opinion, the only people that should be on Advantage plans are people that are really in one of two situations. They are risk takers They're willing to roll the dice. They're healthy now, and they think they're going to stay healthy for the rest of their life. It's as though they have a crystal ball, and they just know they're going to stay healthy. If that's you, stay on your Advantage plan, okay? The truth is, you don't know that, and I don't either. Things can change. So I'm being a little sarcastic there, but I mean that. If you're willing to roll the dice and take the risk, go for it. But the second reason would be those people that just cannot afford in their monthly budget to afford that monthly supplemental plan premium. And there's some people that can't do that, and that's all right. That just happens. Sometimes life, deals with some hard cards, and it's difficult. So if you cannot afford a supplemental plan, don't try to. We find that people that try to get them, unless their relatives are going to help them or whatever, they sometimes can't keep them. So in that situation, that's when you get an Advantage plan, and we try to get the best one that we can for you. We do write Advantage plans, but we want to make sure that you understand when you get them, we're going to have some issues possibly. We got pre-authorizations, we have networks, we have permanency on the plan if you stay on it more than a year and you can't get off without underwriting. So there's some issues, but sometimes you just have to live with that. Listen, I may like to drive a Jaguar, but I can't afford one. Okay, I just can't. It's not in my budget. I have a Lexus, got a nice car. I'm happy with it, but it's not a Jaguar. And so we have to live within our means. And so if someone cannot get a supplemental plan based upon budget, they should not really try to, unless they can get some family help. So if you can afford it, that's exactly what I would do. All right, let's keep going, Jay. Okay, if we both use A and B and SUP, can we get a discount from a particular company? Yes, you can. Now, that varies company to company. Some companies, by the way, we call these household discounts. Some companies give you a household discount if you're just married or you have a significant other, a companion that is 50 and above, 60 and above. So you get household discounts that way. They don't even have to be on the same plan. That's a household discount that's kind of a little bit more broad. Those normally range anywhere from about 5 to 10%. Then some companies give household discounts if both of you are with the same company. You don't have to be on the same plan. One could be on a G and one could be on an N, and they'll give you a household discount, again, anywhere from about 10, sometimes 20% on that discount. So when we talk to you, we're always trying to find out about that. Can we get and qualify for a household discount? Because they're very, very attractive. So the answer to your question is yes, you can, but it does vary company to company. All right. Okay, Brad, I'm turning 65 soon, covered by my spouse company medical plan, 20 or more. Do I need to sign up for Medicare A now, or can I wait till she's ready to retire? Okay, so Brad, you do not have to sign up for A as long as A is zero premium. And that's a 99% chance, okay? As long as you or your wife has paid into the Medicare tax system for 40 quarters, you do not have to enroll into Medicare A in your situation. You don't, and you won't be penalized, I promise. Okay, now, why would I not enroll into A in your situation? If you and or your spouse are contributing to an HSA, means you have a high deductible health plan, and you have an HSA attached to that plan, I would say do nothing with Medicare. No A, no B. I promise if A is zero premium, you'll never be penalized, okay? And the reason I would say don't do A or B, because if you enroll in A or B, then you can no longer put money into an HSA, health savings account. So if you all have a health savings account and you're contributing, it's wonderful. It's like a healthcare IRA. Right now, the limit is about $4,150 a year for an individual plan, $8,300 for a family plan. And you can put an extra $1,000 in if you're above 55. And so those are wonderful plans. So I would say if you have that, don't do A or B. Keep contributing to your HSA. But if you do not have an HSA and you don't think you'll have one while your wife is working, then I would go ahead and, for me, enroll into A only. And because you're not going to hurt yourself, you're just in the Medicare system. A is zero premium. And so what's going to happen in the A only with a large employer is it's going to pay second to Medicare. Okay, so your group plan, your wife's group plan pays first, Medicare pays second. Now, in the second payer position, on the A side, hospital side, Medicare will not pay any deductibles. It will not pay any copays, but it will pay coinsurance. So if you have coinsurance on your wife's plan, you're responsible for that. If you go to the hospital, it could be that Medicare could pay something. And so that's why I would go ahead and enroll into A. All right, so it's good to do so unless you have an HSA. Now, listen, for those of you that are asking, does that mean flexible spending? No. Health reimbursement arrangements? No. Only HSAs. If you have a flexible spending, you can enroll in A only. You have an HRA, you can enroll in A only, no problem. Just not HSAs. All right, Brigitte, what's next? Are you a licensed agent on the site? And yes, we are. We write business, Ted, in all 50 states as well as the District of Columbia. Anywhere you live, we can assist you, and we'd be delighted to do so. All right, my spouse passed beginning of 2024, retired 20 at 64. When I turned 65, I'm going to have issues with the IRMAA limit. Okay, yeah, so what's going to happen is this. If you're, you said you retired, okay, so you're going to go Medicare, and you're going to have an IRMAA. They're going to look back at 2023. So what's going to happen is death of a spouse is a life-changing event. So again, Google your SS 44 form, SSA-44, and you're going to see there's 8 life-changing events, and one of those is death. And so if the death of your spouse affected your income, so you're going to be on Medicare in 2025, so they're looking back at 2023. And so you can put down on that life-changing event the date your spouse passed away. You'll have to also have a death certificate, and you'll submit that to your local Social Security office, and they will drop off your IRMAA. Now, if you need help with this, listen, you call our office. We'll help you with your Medicare. We'll help you appeal your IRMAAs. All that's fine. Now, let's talk about this. When you roll into 2026, they're going to look back at 2024. And so if you did have an IRMAA, you could still use that life-changing event, but you probably, maybe you're not going to. Maybe income wasn't as high because that's when your spouse passed away. But yes, death of a spouse is a life-changing event. You just have to have proof of that through the death certificate. All right, Brigitte, I'm ready. Okay, my husband turned 65 in January. When he continues to work at full retirement age, how much is he allowed to make without penalty if he continues to work and collect Social Security? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Sarah, I'm happy to answer your question. So what I'm assuming is when you say turn 65, you just mean in January, okay? So that tells me, so I'm going to go with January, that tells me that your husband was born in January of, what would that be? Man alive, I can't do that in my head. 2024, so what does that mean? Born in 59, that's it. Sorry about that. All right, so husband born January 1959. Hope that's right. That would be right if he turned 65 this January. Okay, so his full retirement age is 66 and 10 months. Now, by the way, I'm assuming he wasn't born January 1st, so I'm going with 2nd to the end of the month. If he's born on the 1st, my numbers would change by 1 month. So he's born January 1959, 66 and 10 months. So the way we count the 10 months would be this. We would count February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Okay, so 11 of 2026. So here's what's going to happen. Right now, on Social Security, all the way up until December of 2025, next year, okay, he can only make a little amount of money. This is the low earnings test amount. And you're going to write this down. It's $22,320. That's all he can make for the whole year. And that's from now up until December of 2025. Okay? He can make $22,320. Now, that number will go up a little bit next year. But January of 2026, all the way through October, that number goes up a lot. That is, he's not yet full retirement age, but he's turning that year. And he can make $59,520 for all of those 10 months in 2026. All right. Then once he hits full retirement age, November 2026, he can make as much as he wants. We have no earnings test once we hit full retirement age. So we have a low amount. This year is $22,320. We have a high amount of $59,520. I may have said 56. It's $59,520. And so with the low amount, for every $2 I make above that, they penalize me $1. And for every $3 on the high amount, every $3 above, they penalize me $1. So they withhold Social Security checks based upon that penalty amount. Now keep this in mind. The money they withhold, you'll eventually get back, but it will not be lump sum. They'll recalculate your benefit at full retirement age, including that money that they withheld. Okay, so that's the way that works. It's called the earnings test. But remember, it goes away at full retirement age completely. All right, Brigitte, next. Okay, I moved to Texas July, changed my address. Can I change to a Supplemental Plan G, leaving advance plan? Yes, you can. Yeah, you're eligible when you leave one area like this. Now, if you just move across the block, you're not going to do this. But when you move states like this, then you would be eligible for a special enrollment period where you can actually pick up a supplemental plan without any underwriting. Now, keep this in mind. I don't know how old you are, but as long as you were born after, well, let me say it this way. As long as you were eligible for Medicare after January 1, 2020, you would be eligible for that Plan G. If you're eligible for Medicare prior to 1/1/2020, your guaranteed issue would be an F plan, okay, because it all depends upon when you started Medicare. Okay, so before 1/1/2020, have to take an F, guaranteed issue. After 1/1/2020, you can get a G, guaranteed issue. Now, you can get anything you want. If you're born after 1/1/2020, you get an N plan if you want, but you may have to qualify to be able to get that. But your guaranteed issue product would be your G plan. All right, let's keep going. Susan, I'm considering retiring June 2, 2025 when I turn 66 in 8 months. Okay. I will have my employer insurance through the end of June when I set up Medicare to start July 1, 2025. And the answer to that question is yes, you would. In fact, that'd be the very, very best time for you to do that. Usually the month that we stop working, the employer covers us through the end of the month. There are a few exceptions, so you always have to verify that, but most employers cover you the whole month. And so what you would want to do, you're going to, of course, come in using what's called the special enrollment period, Susan. So what's going to happen, and if you work with us, we'll do all this for you, but there's a form called an L564 that we would initiate, and that form would be given to your employer. You do this through the HR department, and they'll complete it. So what we have to do is we have to verify, Susan, that you've had credible insurance at work, you were working or your spouse was covered by a group plan back to 65. So as long as you have credible continuous coverage back to 65, you qualify for a special enrollment period. And then your second form is called the CMS 40B. And on the 40B form, you would put on there, or we'd do it for you, please begin my Medicare 1/1/2025. And it would be seamless. You're eligible to come in with no penalties, no problems because of the L564, and the 40B form tells them when you want to start. So that's the process. And again, you work with us, we'll walk you through the whole thing, okay? Our agents know how to do that. All right, Rosé, who's next? On my wife's federal government health insurance, 66, had Medicare Part A. She will retire this December. She's not 65. When do I need to sign up for Part B? Keeping her health plan recommendations. Absolutely. Okay, so what you're going to do, if it were me, since she's going to retire in December, I would go ahead and start my B January 1st. And now the way you're going to do that, by the way, is you're going to have to follow that process of the process I just talked about, the L564, if you want to start in January and you want to have no penalties. If you don't use the SEP process, you're still eligible to enroll in January. That's called the GEP. Okay, I wouldn't do that because with the GEP enrollment, you're subject to penalties. So don't use the GEP. I know you can. You can enroll in January using GEP. They'll start you February 1, but I wouldn't do it. I would take the time to have the OPM fill out the L564 form for you, and they will. And then you select on the 40B form, please begin my Medicare January 1, and then your B will kick in at that time. And then if you want to stay on the federal plan as secondary payer, that's a fine option for sure. No problem whatsoever. You probably have heard as a federal employee, you all can get by with A only, and you can, but I would not do that. I would get A and B and let that federal plan, whether it's Blue Cross or GEHA, whoever it is, I would have them be the second payer if it were me. Okay, let's keep going. All righty, Tony, 66. My job has been eliminated. My company is offering a corporate plan. A portion will be subsidized by the company. Okay, Anthony, let me tell you what you have to do. It is fine to go on COBRA, okay, no problem, especially the company's going to pay for it, but here's the issue. Once you are no longer working and you are covered by the insurance at work, that insurance plan is going to be considered COBRA by Medicare. And so what you have to do, Tony, is once the group plan's over, active employment over, let's say it ends this month, July, then you want to start your Medicare A and B August 1. Now, you may already have A anyways, but you want to start your B August 1, and this is why. Because from August 1 on, if you're losing your insurance in July, from August 1 on, what's going to happen is that COBRA plan that they're offering for you is going to be in the second payer position. It will only pay second. It will no longer pay first. Now, if you have a spouse or kids that are on the plan that are younger, well, kids would be, of course, but the spouse is younger, COBRA still pays first. But once you're eligible for Medicare, COBRA moves to the second payer position. So if you had a claim, I promise you, when that claim goes in to be processed, especially if it's a big claim, they're only going to pay second. And so if you didn't, by choice, say, I'm not going to take B because I don't want to pay for it, then you're responsible for everything that B would pay for. So ignorance of the law is no excuse. So Tony, you've got to start Medicare A and B once that employment plan is over. And when it converts to COBRA, now COBRA will still cover, but it pays second. But here's the issue with you, Tony. I don't know where you live, but we don't mind using COBRA as long as it's a good price for a while. But listen, you do not want to miss what is called your Medigap OEP. Medigap OEP stands for Medigap Open Enrollment Period. And that is a period of time that lasts only 6 months, except in New York, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts. So if you live there, different rules. But everywhere else, that OEP only lasts 6 months in all the rest of the states. And so that means that you have a 6-month window where you can get any Medicare supplemental plan, that you qualify for based upon your age, G and after, or maybe F if you're born before 1/1/1955. But you do not have to go through any underwriting. The supplemental plan will be issued. We call that guaranteed issue, open enrollment. And so don't miss that 6-month window. So when we have people that have COBRA available, and again, I don't know the price, but if it's a good price, what you want to do is go and use the COBRA. But you're enrolling in A and B, and you go to the doctor during this 6-month window, you give them your A and B card, you give them your COBRA card. But within that 6-month window, now we're going to start that Medicare supplemental plan. Otherwise, if you want to get one at a later date, you have to medically qualify. Now, if you're perfectly healthy, it may not be an issue, but if you have bad health, that's going to be a huge issue unless you live in one of those 5 states. So let's just make a scenario here, Tony, so you're clear. Let's say that you start your Medicare 8/1 and B, 8/1/2024. That's 6 months. We got to count August. So we'd count August, September, October, November, December, January. So you have up to January 31st to submit a MedSup plan for an effective date of 2/1/2024 with no underwriting required. But if you wait to 2/1 thereafter, you just missed that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I would not do that. And again, you call our office, our agents know all this, and we could set everything up so that we can do a callback with you at the right time to get you enrolled in that supplemental plan. So COBRA's fine, but it only pays second, but don't use it too long because you would miss that Medigap OEP. All right, let's keep going. What takes priority if you have Medicare A and B and Medicare Advantage? When you go to the doctor, do you show both cards or just the Advantage? Okay, Nancy, it's a great question. Yeah, your A and B card, Nancy, when you have an Advantage plan, you ought to put that in storage because you're not going to use that. In fact, if you did that, let's say if you gave them your A and B card and they filed the claim with A and B, Medicare is going to reject that. Why? Because they know you're enrolled into an Advantage plan. That Advantage plan replaces A and B for you. So take your A and B card, put it in the drawer, put it in storage. You're not going to use it. You have to use the Advantage plan for everything because you have opted to have that private health insurance company replace A and B for you. Okay, so that's the way it works. Next, I have Medicare A and B, supplemental plan in. Now, if I relocate to Massachusetts, do I have to do anything in my supplemental plan? Premium giving will be the same in the underwriting. Okay, so first off, Maria, if you do move, your supplemental plan, I don't care who the company is or anything, it is a portable plan. You can take that plan with you. It's portable. It goes with you. Now, when you get to your new location, they do have the right to re-rate you. Sometimes the rates go up, sometimes they go down, but it's still your lifetime policy, so there could be an adjustment of the rate, but there would absolutely be no underwriting whatsoever. It's a lifetime portable policy. The only thing that can change would be the premium up or down, and I've had clients move all over the country, and it usually is a very small issue. Okay? All righty. Okay, you have any more questions tonight, Berger? Are we all done? All done? Okay, sounds good. Folks, we're going to call it quits. I appreciate you being a part. If you're still with us, if we can help you in any way, call our office. We'd be delighted to help you. We're brokers. We write everywhere. And so if we can assist in any way. And then every 2 weeks, I do these events. Tell your friends, go to our YouTube channel, learn all you can about Medicare. And then when you're ready, please reach out to us and allow us to be your Medicare broker. It'd be our privilege. Thanks so much.